What is going on, everybody? It keeps getting brighter and brighter. My purple haze is not working anymore. Don't worry. It'll just be a few more minutes and then it'll come back. But for everybody, thank you so much for coming by. We have another special guest today. Some of y'all know him in chat. We'll bring them out and introduce themselves. But for others, I know this is a huge day in gaming. We have early access for Diablo 4. So I know Resin and Rouster, that's their game. They're playing it up. And then we also have Street Fighter 6. I think tomorrow? Huge day, huge week in gaming. So Cammy, I know you're gonna be all over that. I know, Holtz, but before I get into it, I just want to say thank you. I think I saw some of you before. Cammy, I know you're here. Obi Rose, what is going on? Holtz, Wit, how are you, Wit? Sanchez, what's going on? So thank you all for coming by, having this conversation. And we have NBA playoffs. This is a busy day. But so I definitely appreciate everybody coming by, giving our guests, giving our guest the attention because he has an amazing gaming story and one that sounds familiar, but it's a little different. I got a little sneak peek before the show. But without further ado, it's not about me. It's not about my week. It is about the person there in the title. So without further ado, let's bring him out. Silent Cypher, what is going on?
Purple, it's great to see you. How are you today?
I am well. Let me say it like that. I have been talking to lots of lawyers.
That sounds rough.
No. You know what? Here's my and forgive me for if there's any lawyers in chat. I think I've talked about lawyers enough so y'all know that they are neither friend nor foe to me. They're just part of life. And it's weird that you need a lawyer for like everything. Like it's just like any type of dealing, you need a lawyer. It's like, and then gone are the days of free consultations. They want the money right up front to answer.
Hard money right there.
I literally talked to and he said, "Hey, I have a consulting fee." So it's just one question. He's like, so I paid the consulting fee, and he told me no. He told me that was literally the answer to my question. So, but without that silence, this is about your journey, your gaming life, the everything. So before we get started, how would you describe yourself for some of the people who have not seen you in your show, in your capacity as Xbox International or your channel, which both I've linked them both down below, y'all. So if y'all want to go by, give Silent Cypher some love. But how would you describe yourself?
Man, that's, honestly, that is a really hard question. It's a good question. I think it would probably surprise a lot of folks here that I'm somewhat of an introvert. So you wouldn't figure that, and obviously with my history, my work history and stuff, obviously you would not get that same thing either. You would think how would you do that? How do those things match? But I'm actually somewhat introverted. Despite sounding like I'm kind of a surly old man on here sometimes on the podcast and stuff, I'm not really that surly. My kids might tell you different, but you always got to make sure that the kids are behaving. But no, so that's a couple things for me as far as where I come from. So I was born and raised in Utah. Very, very Midwest type of place. Lots of fields, lots of corn, lots of cowboys. It's an interesting mix here. Obviously, over the last 20, 30 years, things have changed a lot. Starting to get a little more big city, but it's still one of those things where the offshoot cities are like 10 to 15 years behind Salt Lake City, which is our main city. But yeah, born here, spent a lot of time here, went through elementary school, middle school, high school, everything from here. Nothing super exciting about me. I didn't have a massive traveling history as I was growing up. Again, I was an introvert. I was kind of a basement dwelling video gamer for a good grip of my time. But I loved it. And I played so many games and watched so many movies that otherwise I wouldn't have seen. So, it's like some people are always like, "Oh, I wish I would have done something different." I can't say that because
Love it.
I am now from all those experiences I've had.
No, I think, I've been to Utah a few times. Did some,
Okay.
it's obviously Salt Lake, and then just a little bit north of Salt Lake, South Jordan, Utah. And then
Yes, actually just south of it.
it's just south.
Yeah.
I always said it could be just south of
Yeah.
Utah, Salt Lake. Yeah,
It's
I never know.
close.
Like, it's right
It's
next to
super
right
close.
next to it. Right next to it. And so we
Mhm.
have South Jordan, and then sometime in Provo. I forget how you
Provo?
say it, but the Provo.
Yep.
I always want to say
Yep.
Provo, but it's Provo.
It sounds cooler.
Yeah,
I like
Provo.
Provo more than Provo.
So no, but Utah, I think Utah definitely has its beautiful parts, and it's not so beautiful parts. I know every state
Yeah.
has that. Every
Yeah.
state, unless you're Delaware and you just blink and you miss it. So no shade, Delaware. Y'all know I love you. Um, so well, speaking about this, childhood growing up, that you would not redo anything.
Mhm.
Where does gaming start with you? Like, what is your first game? You obviously you like movies, right?
Mhm.
Like, and we're going to talk about Xbox International and the show, and in the pilot you play on the show and so forth. But for gaming, like, what's your first system? What's your first memory? Like, your very first gaming memory?
God, so this one gets really tricky for me because I feel like I did play a lot of games on the Atari computer system and some of those when I was really young. I think one of the ones that jumped out to me right off the bat though was I really enjoyed Joust. I don't know if you ever played Joust.
Joust. We've talked
Yeah.
to yes, we've had some people like Joust.
Yeah, so Joust I always enjoyed. I always got my butt kicked on that game because the difficulty level is nuts. They even brought that back on Xbox Live Arcade, if I remember correctly, is where I got it again. And I was so excited to go back into it. And sure enough, I still am horrible at that game. So, but it still brings back those nostalgic memories. That's one of the first ones for me. I think one of the other ones that pops out to me just because it was that time was Avoid the Noid.
Avoid the Noid. What is this?
Yes.
Let me
So
avoid the Noid.
God, if the pop action figure that I had was not buried down at like the bottom of a stack right now, I would grab the box and show you. But it was a Domino's thing. And so it was a Domino's pizza thing tied with this guy in a bunny suit, basically.
Yeah.
And so you were trying to deliver pizzas, and these things would come out of nowhere and try and attack you and keep you from delivering the pizzas.
Y'all, have
It's
y'all seen
weird.
this? I've never seen this game. Who
Yeah.
makes this game?
I don't even remember.
Oh, I know.
I'm
Well, I want to know who this is. Commodore 64. Dasso, you're an old school gamer.
Yes.
Oh my God. Shared data. Man.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Shared data and Blue Sky Software. What happened to these people?
Played a
Oh
lot
my
of games from
gosh.
Shared Data. But yeah,
I,
C64, Atari's systems and stuff, like we were very much computer based when I was growing up. Like that was our initial upbringing. The only way I ended up actually getting into consoles was because of my brother. He had actually just enlisted and got into the military. And so he had to leave his stuff at home. And so he entrusted me with his Nintendo and Super Nintendo and all the different games and stuff that he had at the time. So then I started getting into some of the other stuff. Obviously, the old gold cartridge Zelda, um, some of the other games as well. I'm trying to remember some of the Nintendo ones, but I know I played a lot of Duck Hunt because everyone had a zapper, right? Uh, Enjoyed playing that a bunch, playing the original Mario. That was always a lot of fun. But then I shifted really quick onto Super Nintendo because, like I said, he left me both. And so I got spoiled really fast on the visuals of the Super Nintendo and the fact that my brother had delivered me a treasure trove of mature rated games that my parents didn't realize he had given me, like Mortal Kombat, of which my descent into I'll get back to it in a second, but my descent into horror games, horror movies, violent games, stuff like that came very early, probably too early, some would
So,
argue.
horror game. Tell us about a horror game.
So obviously the old Friday the 13th game, I think that was what the original NES, if I remember correctly, the purple suit Jason, which was always a fun one. That was always a fun one for me. The horror games, I feel like I didn't get into a lot of more of the horror games more than just like the gory games for a while. But later on in time, I started shifting into stuff like Clive Barker's Undying, um, and then much later, obviously, other stuff like Fear, like Condemned, like obviously it changes a lot as time goes on, but there were a few gaps in there. I feel like I played a lot of Mortal Kombat for a long time, and I ended up sitting on that for a really long time.
So, Obi Rose, who is our resident fighting champion, he has the Obi Rose Cantina, or the Fight Cantina. Did I get that right, Obi Rose? Because I know I was watching it. I came right at the end of it, but he's got the Fight Cantina. Y'all go check out Obi Rose, another Shades of Purple alumni. He asked, what is your favorite Mortal Kombat?
Oh man, see that one's hard for me. I really enjoyed the originals. I enjoyed playing in the arcade, playing like the MK3 stand-up arcade and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun to me. I really enjoyed the campy nature of those first ones because, like, yes, they were violent, but they were also very campy. They were just fun, like button mashers, right? I found myself usually steering more towards that, but I'd say if I had to pick one specifically, it's going to be later in the Mortal Kombat franchise. It's probably oh god, I don't know, like maybe MK 8, 9, or 10. I forget which one. I forget which one. Yeah, honestly, it's been a minute. I'm kind of frustrated that we don't have them by back compat, so I can try them again and get a good feel for them.
Hmm.
But I mean, hey, maybe everyone else is doing remakes of games, right? And remasters and stuff. Maybe we'll end up seeing an MK collection at some point, and then we can all jump back into it and see the quality graphic goodness that was Mortal Kombat back in those times.
We can hope. I mean, so interesting. Cowboy says his is, I think, 9 or 10. I think I hear a lot of people say those too. So, are
Yep.
you really looking forward to MK1?
Absolutely. I saw that trailer, and as soon as it started, it's like certain franchises and stuff, like they give you kind of like a tingle down the spine, and that was very much that for me, along with some of the other stuff we've seen released over the last little bit. But when I saw that, it just like it hit, and I was like, oh yes, I need Mortal Kombat again. It's been too long. I need it.
No, my brother, that's the only thing he likes to play is Mortal Kombat. And so fortunately for me, like fortunately and unfortunately, Stadia, I come from the Stadia community.
Yeah.
Stadia had Mortal Kombat, ran really, really well. And so I was able to be like, okay, here, I'll buy you the game. You don't need a console or anything. Well, Stadia shut down, and now he's talking about getting a console just for Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, oh, and it comes out like right around his birthday. So,
Hey, it's worth it.
oh my gosh, we'll
I'm
see.
just
But he
saying.
likes it. He likes it. That's his game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but to go back to go way back in the Wayback Machine again.
yeah.
The other stuff that I was playing, obviously Super Nintendo had a bunch of stuff. One of my favorites back at that time one that I spent a lot of time in was Zombies Ate My Neighbors. That was a killer one. That one was from Konami back in the day.
Zombie. You know, Konami is making a comeback.
They are. I'm a little well. So they actually ended up doing a. They did like a remaster of I think it was like a year or two ago. It's on Xbox Live. You can actually get it, and it's Zombies Ate My Neighbors 1 and 2, if I remember correctly. Number 2 was no good, but number 1 is
Not
worth
good.
playing. Yeah, number 1 was worth
Somewhat.
playing.
They have it on Switch.
Yes, yeah, they had it on Switch. I think Xbox, PC. They brought it out on almost everything, I think.
Oh my gosh, why have I never heard of these games? You know what? I'm gonna blame it on Utah. I'm gonna
We were
blame it on
keeping them.
Utah.
We were hoarding all of the horrible games. That's what we did.
No, because it's interesting because your gaming journey reminds me a lot of when we have like frankly people from like the other side of the ocean who speak like elves, like Holtz, you know. Well, even though Holtz played in console game, but you know, Clive or Rock or a few of them who like started with these game Atari and then PC game. It was like kind of that was the path into and then console. That's interesting because I haven't heard too many people who are from like resident like continental 48 states North America say
super into that.
Yeah. So
that's fair. I'm glad I can bring you a little something different then.
No, it definitely is. It definitely is. So you're playing games. You're doing Super Nintendo. So you inherited it. And at this point, would you say like you're into gaming? Or it sounds like you're a movie buff.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a movie buff. So you know, I always have to ask people who say horror. What's your favorite horror film from the 1970s?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I gotta do it by decades. So you know,
See,
70s.
I don't do it by the decades too much. God, I'm trying to think.
Okay, well, how do you separate your horror films?
I don't even really separate them to be honest. I just have like a giant cloud of my horror movies that I've watched.
Top three horror films.
Top 3 horror films. Ooh. Okay. I will say one of them that I would have to put in there, not necessarily because it's one of my favorites, but because it gives you a sense of anxiety and tension that I feel like a lot of horror movies don't. And that was actually one called High Tension that came out. I want to say that was back around 2006, if I remember correctly. And that was one, I think it was dubbed, if I remember correctly, dubbed with English, because I think it was originally maybe French. But that movie, if anyone in here has ever seen that one, they can vouch for this thing. It is one of those off-putting experiences when you're watching this movie where you feel that something's coming, but it just keeps getting more and more intense, and it just keeps ratcheting up as they go. That's definitely one that sticks in my mind as just an experience. Again, not one that I necessarily really liked, but it's intense. In regards to something that I enjoy, one that I really enjoy, one of my favorite horror movies, and it's terrible, but one of my favorites is Friday the 13th Part 4, I believe it is. And that is the one that has Corey Feldman in it. And that was a really cool one because it actually shifted into a cool little arc. So you had 4, 5, and 6 that kind of, they were the Tommy Jarvis arc for Friday the 13th. And so you got to see him as a kid in the first one. And then in the second one, spoilers, but this is from the 80s, so not. The second one, he is in he's in a mental institution, basically, because of the things that happened in the first movie. And then in part 6, he comes back of which I would argue 4 and 6 are definitely my favorite on that series. But he comes back slightly older than that, and he's basically wanting to make sure that Jason is dead. Of which, like I said, spoilers, Jason's not dead. Or maybe he is, and maybe he manages to come back alive, which was, yeah. But
Interesting.
if I
Wit,
had
we
to
have
pick,
to watch it. Wit in chat is a big horror film person. So Wit, we got to talk about it.
yeah, yeah.
So, but keep going. I'm just letting Wit know.
So I'm trying to think about what the third one would be. Trying to see if I have. Well, so I guess I do have to say Halloween, because Halloween is definitely
We're looking right behind.
Like I said.
Can we get a picture? Can we get an image of it? Like,
yes,
can y'all see his
absolutely.
background?
So
we got. Whoa. We got Freddy here.
Yes.
We have you. So talk to us. What are we seeing? What are we seeing? Because this is not like a normal. This is actually something's going on.
This is kind of like a shrine to an extent.
Yeah.
So we've got obviously Freddy. That I think is the mask for part 4. Is that one? And then you've got the Halloween 2 mask just off to that side right there. Kind of dirtier and stuff. It was the second movie, so he was a little grungy after his battles in the first one. And then you've got the one right here is actually from the remake in 2018. And that one, the whole thing with that is it's supposed to come right after the events of the first one, but like 40 years later. So it's obviously very weathered. And then you've got up here in this corner, you've got the one that they did for, I think it was the very last movie. Or no, it was Halloween Kills. And that one was where he gets fried like towards the end. And so it's super mangled. And I actually have another one that's sitting over here that I just haven't put up on the wall yet.
Why would you? So you have all this to Halloween?
Yes. And then I've got one Jason and one Freddy. I also have a couple Beetlejuice ones over there too, to be fair.
Okay, and then Eagle Eye Ambi is saying, what is this framed over here?
So this right here is actually from The Shining.
Yes, Ambi's caught that. The Shine. This is like one of my favorite scary, like horror. I don't know, it's horror, psychological horror of all time.
I wish I could zoom in super close so you could see it. But if you look right here, you see a concentrated little dark patch. And that's actually Danny sitting there on the floor, and it's when he's playing with his cars, and you see the ball that rolls over to him, and it's right before he sees the twins. So,
oh my gosh!
So that's one I always enjoyed. I see, that's why I say it's hard for me to pick these things, is because I loved The Shining, and I still to this day do, but it's not as much of a scary thing to me as it's just a suspense thriller that just keeps ramping up over and over and over again. And then, and then just gaming stuff, basically. A Lego kit of Dom's charger from Fast and the Furious, some Xbox 360 faceplates, the long defunct faceplate, and then Metal Gear Solid 1 up there on the top. That's just some background scenery.
Well, I just have a bookshelf, and Remy walking around randomly in the background. So I love saying this because I think you can tell so much about like what you plan, what you're showing. This is super cool. Yep. Like looking back here, like there's actually history, there's passion. Like I said, I find it interesting that you said Friday the 13th over Halloween, and just.
So I think it's part. So like I was saying, obviously I got introduced to horror movies way too early in my life. My brother was showing me and forcing me to watch the movies when I was about 5 or 6. And so I think it's partly just to when I came across these movies, because I saw the Jason movies, the Freddy Kruegers, all that stuff. I saw that by the time I was 6 or 7. like through all the ones they had released at that point. So I think that's part of it, is some of that resonates with me more because I saw those ones super early. I didn't come to Halloween until the mid 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm getting some.
No, you're good.
Here.
You're good. But yeah, so that's like I said, I came into that side of things way earlier than I should have, and I think that's partly why it kind of molds me and puts me focusing more on some of those like super old classic ones, is because that's what I first saw.
Yeah, and shout out Lo-Fi Monk in the house. Lo-Fi, are you looking at his background? Were you here when Silent Cypher explained it? So the picture is of The Shining, the carpet of The Shining, and it has Danny in the middle there. And then he has all this stuff for Halloween, Freddy Krueger, Beetlejuice. This is super cool. And
unfortunately, it's way too small for you to see. But right on top of that bookshelf, actually, I've got the Mortal Kombat bookends of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And it's the one where Scorpion is launching the spike out of his wrist, and it's shooting out of Sub-Zero on the other side.
Oh, really? So, nice.
Yeah. It's super unnecessary, but it was one of those things where I was like, I gotta get that. It's cool. Yeah, I like it. I'm a big kid at heart.
Super cool. And so you mentioned, so you all, and you all who are a little older, you remember when, and this is to chat sense, I feel you'll know where I'm going here in a second. But you remember many of our gaming journeys start at the video store, right? Or we would go rent video games at the video store. And so this is super cool from Silent Cypher because we see kind of this passion, right? We see gaming and we see movies. So Silent Cypher, I have to ask you, do you have a blockbuster story or do you have something different?
So before we jump into that real quick, I'm going to disrupt it a little bit because I told Cammie that I was going to throw you off your game a little bit today. So I am going to do that. I just wanted to mention that I did grab some root beers.
Oh my god!
For this show.
Jones, I know that one.
So I've got a few different things that I am sipping on this evening, and I figured this was a perfect time because I was a little parched anyways.
Oh my gosh, you want me to go get one? I can go get one and come back.
Absolutely.
All right, y'all, I'm going to bring, I haven't showed you all this. I have one here. Give me a second.
Chat, how are you guys doing today? Holtz, I like it. Come in, Snake. Colonel, this is Snake. Can you hear me? I've reached the disposal facility. How's that for you? Is that a little Snake for you? Always enjoy me some Metal Gear. That's actually probably one of my most memorable video gaming moments was Metal Gear Solid 1, actually, with the PS1. It was right after they released the DualShock PS1. And so I was super stoked the fact that we actually had analog. Hey, welcome back. What do you got?
Bring a little Virgil.
Oh, some Virgil. Nice.
Little Virgil there. Little Virgil. I thought I was joking there. So yeah, but keep going. I heard you had a little Metal Gear Solid with Holtz. Keep going.
Yes. Yeah. So my parents had never really bought me any systems when I was growing up too much. Like they bought me a, oh God, I'm trying to remember if it was even new or if it was one that was passed down by my brothers and sisters. But I actually have still to this day, I've got my my original Game Boy. That's the clear case. So it's the clear shell Game Boy. And I did not ruin it like a bunch of folks did. I didn't use batteries in it really past the point that I found myself a wall charger, mainly because I burnt through batteries like it was going out of style when I was playing Pokemon Red and Blue. So So yeah, but Metal Gear. So that was, I think, probably the first time that my parents had actually gotten me a console as a kid, and that was a big thing for me. I was super stoked because the PS1 had just come out with the it was the Dual Shock system. It had the analog sticks, it had the vibration. It was awesome. And what better to show that than two video games, Ape Escape and Metal Gear Solid 1.
Ape Escape.
Um,
Wow.
yes. And Metal Gear Solid 1 was definitely what I jumped to pretty quick from Ape Escape because it was cool. But they bought me that, and this is why I say it's a very memorable one to me, is because I'm pretty sure that I brought my body as close as humanly possible to diabetes uh, when I got my PS1, because not only did they get me the PS1, they got me Metal Gear Solid 1 per my request because they said I could get one game, but I also got a 5 pound bag of Mike and Ike's. And so they let me have a couple
5 pounds?
friends over. 5 pounds. 5 pounds. Yes, you heard that right. So I had a sleepover on my birthday for that year. They're like, okay, we'll get you the console. You can have a couple friends over and you can do that. And so we sat there, and over the night, we proceeded to beat Metal Gear Solid 1 for the first time. And we also polished off the Mike and Ike bag amongst the three of us, I think it was.
5? How many
Yes.
calories was this? I guess.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, but I'd imagine it's probably why my metabolism is fried to this day. Is because my body was like, yeah, we're not going to burn calories for you anymore. You're a monster.
You're done. 110
Yes.
per 16 pieces, which is 30
God.
grams.
I can't even. It also probably explains why I've never had the best teeth either, because pretty sure I put them through their tests when I was a kid.
No, I tell you. And welcome to chat. I see Rouster, what's going on? Rouster, what are you doing? Diablo 4 just launched early access. Everybody's playing it. You know? Thank you for stopping by, Rouster, but you are forgiven if you want to go play Diablo. I know you've been looking forward to that game for a while. Oh, look, it's Ash. How's it going, Ash? Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, just trying to keep up with you, Ash. I don't have the red hair, so I got to let my curls try to pop as much as possible.
Me
but
too.
yeah,
I'm growing out my hair right now. Actually.
I can tell it looks great. Looks great.
The camera takes off about 5 inches of hair for me, unfortunately, but it's there. It's there. Trust me.
Oh, well, everybody has to start their. You know, there's actually like there's communities for everything. There's the curly hair community, and I will say everybody starts their curly hair journey somewhere. So that's what I tell you.
That I think I'll have better luck growing it on my face than I'll grow it on my head. So
you know, we take all sorts of types. So
that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate the inclusion. It's nice.
That's what we're trying. Yes,
a lot of people get angry about us shaving head guys. I'm bringing it back. I'm trying to bring it in.
Oh, whatever works. Whatever works. As I say, as long as you're gaming, you're good with me.
That works.
So that's it.
Good with that.
And
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, and then Obi Rose. Obi, I don't think Silent Cypher's getting a PS5. This dude is Xbox International.
So there's a misunderstanding that us being
Silent Cypher, I'm trying to get you. Your crew is gonna come.
That's fine. That's fine. They can come at me. Off the air. We've talked about this in the past. Myself and all those guys. Shout out to Lou, Sour, Dark, Plume. I've told them, I was like, you know what? If they release a PlayStation 5 that isn't the Eye of Sauron or a giant modem, then yes, I will buy one. But that thing looks absolutely ridiculous on my console.
100%.
Yeah, it's so big. It's unnecessarily so big. And it's just like, if you give me a slim, like you look at the PS2. PS2 has one of the best slims ever. That thing was freaking awesome. You look at that, you look at even some of the PS3 Slims that they did, and those are cool. Like I've got one of those upstairs right now, and it's great. But give me a Slim, man, because like I can't do that big console in the entertainment system. It looks sorry, but it looks dumb. It looks kind of bad on my
You
entertainment
know,
center.
there's not too many times to say it, but bigger isn't always better. Not too many. Not too many. There's not too many, y'all.
Yep.
Y'all not
It,
too many.
it's not
You
about
know,
the size, it's how you use it.
it's exactly. At least for the,
And in that
we're not going there.
situation,
I can take this pretty far.
in that
Somebody just
situation especially, being as it's not the powerful system, you wonder, like, was Sony overcompensating?
I don't know. I don't what. But if it's not the most power, oh, so you're saying I see what you're saying.
Saying maybe they made a bigger system so that way it looked like it was more impressive.
I
But it's probably best not to dive into that too far. We want
Too
to keep
early,
it
too
somewhat
early.
family friendly, right? Too early. Too soon. Too soon. We've only
Doing
had
like
half a root beer. We can't go that
only
far.
had half a root beer, of course. Well, we're gonna definitely jump into to size and does it matter next? No, just but
This
Severin, you
evening
do
on the
always
Purple
Severin
Haze Show.
always and Severin always comes at the first time with his 6'5" frame size. So he always comes in at these moments.
That's fair. That's fair.
Size matters. It does. Oh, Banana Killer. She is a size queen. We have to. We have to get. But that's so. So now we are going to get to the Blockbuster or maybe not
Yes.
Blockbuster store.
Yes. Sorry. I saw the exit and I was like, no, we're gonna go down the freeway just for a while. Just enjoy the scenery for a minute. So yeah, so my history ended up shifting, like, as obviously from kid to now. Obviously, like, my gaming history kind of changed as time went on. I eventually ended up buying a PS2. I eventually got into the game industry, fortunately, because I had a Hollywood Video that was around. So
Do y'all
originally,
remember Hollywood Video? Everybody in chat, do you remember Hollywood Video?
I don't know
Like,
if many people will. Like,
I mean, if you grew up in this, I feel like Hollywood Video was there competing against Blockbuster.
it tried. It tried.
It was like Walmart and Target. Like Blockbuster, you would go in but Hollywood Video was like newer. It had this different cachet to it.
Yeah, the thing about Hollywood Video is, like, I'll give them a ton of props. Like, they pushed it big and bold, and unfortunately that was what ended up killing them to an extent, because we ended up having Movie Gallery come in and eventually buy Hollywood Video. And the problem was that Movie Gallery was kind of more of a mom and pop shop type of rental service. And Hollywood Video had incurred so much debt over the years from their exorbitant spending and stuff like that. Movie Gallery didn't realize, I think, what they were biting off. I see Severin mentioning Movie Gallery with question mark in the chat. And so Movie Gallery was originally, if I remember correctly, located mainly more towards, like, Indiana, Illinois. I think that was mainly where some of their headquarters was. But they wanted to make a bigger market. They wanted to diversify the portfolio. They wanted to extend their footprint in regards to the rental services. But they didn't realize how much money Hollywood Video was in debt. And so things were good for a few years, but yeah, eventually things went downhill. But let's go back to the good old days of Hollywood Video real quick. Back when I was a lad and I first got my job there, and they forced us, no matter what temperature it was outside, to wear black pants and button up long sleeve purple shirts.
Woo.
And the only reason I got stuck over there was because I applied for Game Crazy, and they're like, hey, we don't have any spots open, but we do have spots at Hollywood Video if you want to join in. So I started on Hollywood Video's side, basically with the idea in mind that eventually I was going to move to the gaming side, because that was where I wanted to be. But in the meantime, I enjoyed so many free movie rentals over the time. I proceeded to watch probably more movies than is humanly safe for a good grip of years, because you could get up to 3 at a time for free, and you could do that unlimited. So like I could grab 3 movies, watch them in the morning, go back to work, grab 3 more movies, go back home, watch again, rinse, repeat, over and over and over again. And this chimes into what I was talking about, my introvert side, where I spent a lot of time hanging out at home, chilling, watching movies, playing video games online. That was me for a long time. But I did eventually end up getting over to Game Crazy, of which that was literally, I think, yeah, someone put in a TNS video in here. Reminds me of like Quick Stop, right? Like you think back about those times, and basically Game Crazy was like my version of the movie Clerks. That was literally my Clerks job. And I was, unfortunately, I think it just kind of came with the environment you were in, but I was definitely not the greatest clerk all the time. I tried to be helpful, but there were some trying customers here and there. God bless them. They again, they made me who I am today, so I can't argue too much. But I do actually have a few things on there. So one thing that actually happened right before I got into the Game Crazy side was, I don't know if you remember, they did a bunch. What's that?
So I want to let people know kind of what Game Crazy was in Hollywood Video. So Hollywood Video, just so we gotta like, right. So
I should have
Hollywood
covered that
Video,
more.
because you're clearing. So just for everybody to know, Hollywood Video was like Blockbuster, but
Yes.
they had another side of the store. Essentially, it was the same store that did the video game side. And for some reason, anytime I think of like Game Crazy, I think of Xbox. I feel like there was like some connection there for some reason.
I think it was mainly because everything was themed more in green and black.
Yes, exactly. And so they had, so
Yeah.
you had this, so Hollywood Videos were, to what Silent Cypher was saying, was like a very like decked out blockbuster almost. It had a very like pizzazz to it. I even think like the subscription model or whatever was a little bit more higher tier
Yep.
than a regular blockbuster. And so you had this Game Crazy side of it, which was just the video games. And so
Mhm.
that's why he's saying like he applied to that. He was in the Hollywood side. So then he eventually got promoted up to the Game Crazy side with the cool kids. So just to set the stage. So
With
go.
the cool kids. I appreciate you. I appreciate that because I literally was like, "Oh, Game Crazy," and then I just word vomited all over, like as soon as possible. Yeah, yeah. So it was, they were in competition with Blockbuster to an extent. In as good a competition as you could be against them. I think Blockbuster was like wiping the floor with them ultimately. Again, another reason I think as to why we saw their eventual demise. um, but yeah, so actually, just before I shifted into that job, I don't know if you remember, but they did a bunch of tournament competitions and stuff at the video game stores for a long time. And I was always a really big fan of the Tony Hawk games. And what I think it was Tony Hawk 4 had come out, and then Tony Hawk Underground 1 was just about to come out. And Game Crazy decided that they were going to do a competition, and they were giving away a free copy of the game. And the terms of the competition was you had to beat everyone throughout the pool, and then you had to go up against the actual employees, and you had to beat them. So it was like a ladder match type of thing, right? Well, again, like I said, this Game Crazy thing was definitely not as trafficked as like a GameStop or some of these other video game stores. It was very low traffic. There was a lot of time where we sat there playing video games on our own, hanging out, playing Guitar Hero, playing cards, whatever, because you filled time because it was a slow job. Well, that to be said, I went to the competition and I was the only person that showed up. And so I got to go against the employees to win my copy, and I proceeded to completely mop the floor with Don. Don was the guy's name. I wiped the floor with him on that.
Don was the worker.
That was
I
the
like
worker.
the
I remember.
this
I
could be like a
remember.
movie.
Don and Ryan were both there that day, and I
Oh,
proceeded to
Don.
just mop the floor with Don. Of which he was actually the person I replaced later on, which was kind of awesome. So that was great. But yeah, so I got my free copy, and it emboldened me. I was like, if I can beat the employees at this store, why the heck am I not working at this store? And so I ramped up my efforts. And as soon as I saw an opening, I was already talking with the store manager over at the Game Crazy side, and God bless him, he ended up moving me into the spot once he had an open space. And then the rest of it was history. Like I said, I spent about 4 years in Game Crazy on the video game side of things. I had a couple opportunities to go to E3. I didn't go. I kind of regret it
This was when
because
E3 was a thing.
that was when E3 was a thing.
This is like the
and when,
height of E3. Like it's starting to
yes,
build. Like so,
yes,
this is like it's still
for
like
for better or
elusive.
for
Like
worse. For
yeah,
better or for worse, it was a big thing, right? Like you think of all the positives and the negatives that it had. Obviously, it was still the era of booth babes, and that wasn't necessarily a great thing, but it was still the era of swag, free gear, free gifts, all sorts of stuff like that. And forever since then, I've continued to kick myself for not going at least 1 year. But I had the opportunities, and I don't know why I turned it down. I don't know. I was a dumb kid.
I'm just so you. So let me get this straight. You were working at Game Crazy, which, if y'all are just joining us, Game Crazy, y'all remember that from Hollywood Video, was the video section of Hollywood Video. Hollywood Video was sending its workers to E3.
So Game Crazy was getting access to E3. The Hollywood Video guys didn't actually, because we were like, even though we were the same group, we were still separate.
Yeah, oh my gosh, y'all are
Yeah.
look at this elitism going on.
There was some
it's the same parent company. The company was sending the clerks of E3. This is crazy.
And it was awesome. Like, I know a couple of the guys ended up going. They had a blast. Shout out to Andrew, Joe, some of those guys. They had a lot of fun. I just never ended up doing it. The store managers actually had a really cool deal too. And I know some of the GameStop folks, if there's anyone that's worked at one, I don't know if they do it anymore as much, but if you were a store manager for those companies and stuff, like, you would end up coming home with like free consoles sometimes. Like, I remember with what was it? I think it was like the Xbox One X or something. Just recently, one of the guys I knew that still worked at GameStop came home and he had a PS4, he had an Xbox One X, like he had a bunch of different stuff that he came back with, mainly because like they really poured money into things. Like, GameStop was very supportive of it, and I think they paid it back to an extent. Game Crazy, not so much. Like, we got free swag and stuff, but we didn't come back with consoles. We weren't that cool.
That's still super cool. So so we know how you got your job, right? You beat Don, and they said, Don, you gotta get out. You got the Silent Cypher kid. And I already know what kind of kid you like. We already know the type of kid you were, just hanging around.
I was a terrible kid.
You're just hanging around, talking, like, knew more about the games than Don and Ryan, who are just there like, yo, I'm here because Domino's wouldn't pick me up.
No. So that was something that I told myself early on in life and no, I'm not shaming on anyone or anything, but I never wanted to work a fast food job. And so I tried to go a different route. And so I ended up in Hollywood Video. I've proceeded to have a bunch of childish jobs over my career up until my most recent, because I proceeded to work at Hollywood Video. Game Crazy. And then I moved to Pepsi, where I slung soda and drank soda all the time. And then I proceeded to go to the beer industry, of which I proceeded to go to a bunch of beer events, drink beer, sell beer, do all that stuff. I've had a bunch of man-child jobs, essentially, over my life. There's a
I
theme. There's a theme. It's like
totally
Arrested
get
Development. I stopped
this.
aging.
Or I think it's perseverance because
Sure.
when they say like in middle school or elementary, like write down what you want to be when you grow up. You just kept the list and
Yeah.
you are just checking them off one by one to say nope. Like yes, that's all that is.
Sure.
So
Well, I appreciate you making it sound better than it was. Um, it was it was literally I because we actually I sorry, I feel like I'm going all over the place on the timeline. But before we bounce out of the Game Crazy timeline, I do have a story I wanted to share with you
tell
about
it. Let's go. We love
about
we
one
love stories.
about one of my customers. Because we had some amazing customers. And by amazing, I mean absurd. So we had this guy named Larry that would come in. And Larry was one of those guys that would come in and he would sit there and play on the demo kiosks for like the whole day. And like I said, again, the store didn't have a lot of traffic. So we didn't kick him off of the kiosks because who cares? Like he's literally one of the only people in the store the whole day. So one day, my boss and I are sitting there playing Marvel Versus, which is a card game that is also now defunct. Most of the things I grew up on are now defunct, sadly. But we were playing, and one day Larry walks in, and he comes in and he's like, "Can I play Knights of the Old Republic?" And we're like, "Sure, yeah, whatever." So we loaded into the Xbox, and we got him all set up, and then we went back to playing our card game. And while we're sitting there playing, all of a sudden we hear this horrible, like, crinkling. And we're like, what the heck is that noise? And we look over and we see that Larry is peeling a block of cheese like a banana. And we're just kind of like taken back. We're like, what is he doing? And he proceeds to take a giant bite of this block of cheese. And he just kind of munches on it for a moment. And eventually he's like, "This is some good cheese, dang." And then he just kind of stops. And then he proceeds to wrap it back up. He puts it in his pocket, takes a giant swig of his Mountain Dew 1 liter, and proceeds to just sit there and play KOTOR for hours and just rinse, repeat. Every now and then pulls out the block of cheese, takes a big bite of cheese, keeps going. And we're just like, what? Why is he walking around with a freaking block of cheese in his pocket? What is happening? Of which that was not the only time that we had a cheese occurrence. We had another kid that came in one day and he was hell bent on wanting to get the DS internet browser. This kid Navarro was like sold on it. He's like, $35 is steep, but I want an internet browser. And this is before all of us had this in our pocket where we could browse the internet all the time. And I was like, dude, but you have a computer. You don't need a browser on your DS. And I was trying to talk him into getting a good game, and he was persistent. And at one point I made the comment, I was like, no, you know what? I hear that internet browser's great cheese. And he stopped dead in his spot and he goes, "Cheese? I got cheese." And he pulled out a block of cheese from his pocket.
What is up with this?
Of which, like, when he left, Joe and I are both sitting there looking at each other like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? Like, I know we had a Smith's, which is a Kroger grocery store, just right down in like the strip mall. So I know that we had a grocery store right there, but why are people carrying blocks of cheese around with them all over the place? Like, it was weird. It was sketchy. To be fair, we were located right near a college. So maybe that's part of the reason, is maybe it's a good hangover food. I don't know. It was weird.
And welcome to Mr. Joanna Dark. Thank you so much for joining. And
Joanna
Rouser
Dark?
said that's cheesy. Yeah, Joanna Dark is here.
I like it.
No, yeah, and that's she. I see. No, I think gaming reputations are earned. That's all
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
say. That's all I'm
Yes.
gonna say. Like y'all may
Yep.
there's so we all are gamers in chat, and you know, for every 100 of us who tries to tell our friends like, no, gaming's cool, like we're like normal people, there is the Larrys and the Navarros of the world who bring the average to
Block
the
of
cheese in
cheese.
the pocket level, you know, cheese
That
in
was
the
a weird
pocket
one.
level,
That
you
was a
know,
weird one.
just a block of cheese in Mountain, and I knew you were going to say Mountain Dew.
Well,
Like
of course,
you didn't
right?
even have to say like I was like, yeah, it's gonna be Mountain Dew.
Well, and
You
it
know,
was before we had gamer fuel. Otherwise, I'm sure he would add gamer fuel instead because that was a Mountain Dew staple in our stores as well. Like a Halo release was not complete, or a Call of Duty release was not complete without gamer fuel. Inevitably, and BO, lots of BO.
Yep. I mean, like I said, it was a well earned. It was
Yes.
earned. It was earned. This is not something that people just dropped on you.
No.
But knowing Larry and Navarro, they may own like an internet company or crypto miners and
they're probably some of the early YouTubers that just made it rich, and I'm sitting here, putzing around scrounging for coin. And they're like sitting at their pool eating blocks of cheese, and they're like, haha, joke's on that guy. So, I mean, I got my cheese, I got my pool, you got nothing. Like who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
I'm probably the fool at the end of the day in this situation. But you know what? If that block of cheese got him to being a millionaire, then God bless him. Hats off to Larry and Navarro.
You won it. You won.
You won it. You won the life.
I always reflect back on like on my childhood, and there's a few people in my childhood where I was like, that person's an idiot, and it's like, no, well, they did XYZ, and you're like, oh, they're still an idiot, and they're still not attractive. Like I don't care, like, but it's okay. So I guess it balances out.
Yet somehow they advance in life, and you're just like, how did you?
It was the cheese. It was the cheese.
How are you the president of a Fortune 500 company? How? Okay. Sure.
Well, I also have a theory. I think some of those people are already really well connected. Like, and that's why they can just walk around with a block of cheese and Mountain Dew, because they're just like
they don't have any shame. They don't have any.
They have no shame because they're already there, and so that they're just like this natural path. You know what I mean? Like they're just super, like, that's my thing. And if anybody wanted to know, yes, I'm wearing my Little Nightmares shirt, showing some love to Mono and Little Nightmares 2. I told you Holt I was going to do it.
The only thing I'm rocking right now is, because I'm still holding out hope on a sequel sometime soon, but I've got Deus Ex.
Oh, look at this! Nice. It'll happen.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. Crossed. Embracer, I'm looking at you. Make my dreams come true.
Embracer Group has a couple of my they have Little Nightmares, they have Darksiders. Really hoping Embracer Group brings it together. And Severin, I see that comment. Seems so tight. Why would I want to put anything in my pockets?
Okay, I want to say, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, but this is a constant point of contention with myself and my wife, because women's pants don't usually come with pockets. Why do they not come with pockets?
I will not confirm or deny that I am not wearing something. They have back pockets. That the front pocket is just the design of a pocket. Yeah, I'm
Yes,
wearing that.
exactly. Decorative pockets. It kills me. It kills me. Being someone who has done a lot of like house projects and stuff like that over the years, pockets are a commodity. You need all the pockets to put the screws, the nails, the clips, all that stuff in there.
The cheese.
The cheese.
Where
You need that
would you put the
cheese.
cheese without pockets?
Yeah, yeah. Where are you going to put the cheese, Purple?
I
Where are you going to put it?
I don't know. No.
Are you going to
I mean,
staple
I
it
do
to
know.
that decorative pocket?
You don't. I could definitely probably fit it somewhere, but not in a pocket.
Well,
Let that
well.
said.
Moving on.
Maybe that's why there's no pockets. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh man.
The answer is because you guys have purses. Generally.
You're like Purple. You missed the ABC selection.
Jeez.
Oh,
Maybe I should have given an ABC because this one
Yeah,
went somewhere else. This went somewhere else.
None of the above. I think I took that one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Took it. It's a PG show today, y'all. PG.
Yeah. Yes.
But go ahead.
Do you want to hear more about my video game history?
I would love to hear more about your video game history.
How much time you got? Because I can.
This is your show. This is your show.
I can banter, so I just want to make sure I'm not holding.
This is your show, and you have an amazing banter voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Hold on. 1 second. I feel like this is only complete if I do one thing real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Y'all know this is the pilot of Xbox International.
So I guess the next place we go to this, right? Because I spent time on PS2. But after having about 5 or 6 consoles die, I shifted to the Xbox.
Okay.
There. Is that better?
Oh, we have the pilot. The pilot is in the building.
All right. Well, we moved on to the Xbox. And when we moved on to the Xbox, no. So in all seriousness, I ended up moving to Xbox next after the PS2. I had a little bit of time with the PS2. I kid you not, 6 consoles die on me. And
PlayStation.
Yes. And after that, I decided, okay, I'm gonna give Xbox a shot because I had actually been doing a bunch of LAN parties with some of my friends. We were playing some Halo, and so I kind of shifted over to that side of things. And then I got hooked into Rainbow Six, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, some of those early Xbox Live games. I originally had the gamer tag of Blue Dude, was my original gamer tag, and
Blue Dude, no numbers, no anything.
No numbers, no numbers, no anything.
Solid.
Incidentally, I've got Silent Cypher, and if you try to do it nowadays, they eventually got rid of having a space, and I've got a space in my name as well because I was way back before they started limiting your gamer profile. So I managed to maintain some of the originals. I don't have a bunch of numbers on the end of my name or anything like that. It's one of the originals. But yeah, so for reasons, I changed it to Silent Cypher eventually. Blue Dude, I wish I could tell you the reasoning for that, the origin of it. I'm pretty sure it was because Eiffel 65 was a big band at the time. And so I was like, yeah, Blue Dude, like that Blue song, Dabba Dee Dabba Die, all that stuff.
Eiffel 65.
Yep. So I'm pretty sure that's why that came around. I don't know why.
Now they've remixed. Don't you feel old when they've remixed the song and it's like
I thought it was the original, and when it came on, because I had it playing, I was like, oh, my kids will like this. And then it started this new one. And I'm like, what happened? What are we doing? This is
This
not
is
the
not
Eiffel
it.
65 I grew up on. What are
Yeah,
we doing?
yeah.
Oh, go
And
ahead.
in Severin, if you go back to the beginning, Silent Cypher showed us his entire collection of what's going on in
Ugh,
the background, the
Vanna White
whole
for you.
thing. So if you want to go back earlier, we talk about it's everything. Freddy, Jason, or Friday the 13th, Mike Myers and Halloween. We have a little bit of my favorite, The Shining. We have a little bit of Beetlejuice. We have some Mortal Kombat back there.
Mhm.
This is, you're seeing a lot of his stuff in the background, so it's pretty cool.
There's yeah, that's better organized. The stuff that's up here you can't see, but there's all sorts of shenanigans going on up here too. Weird stuff. Weird stuff. Like
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob.
Well, that's not horror, but
No,
well,
no, it's not.
it's
But
like cheese in the pocket.
what?
It's like
Cheese
cheese in the
in
pocket.
the pocket.
That's it.
What? Why? But yeah, so it shifted from there. I eventually moved into 360. Um, One of my biggest claims to fame, because you actually asked me, you're like, what's a unique thing about you? And I think one of them would be that I had at birth I had an ulnar bone that was too long, and so after
Oh, what
three
type of bone?
surgeries, ulnar bone, so right here, you
An
can even
owner
still kind
bone.
of see the scar. So I found out that it was too long. It was cutting away at the tendon. So when the first, what it was when Halo 2 came out, um, I had just had surgery. And so I couldn't really play anything very well because I had just had surgery. I was casted up. So, like a true gamer, I wadded up a piece of paper towel. I jammed it under the left stick so I'd constantly be running. And then I used the other side of the controller like a pistol grip and proceeded to play the game single handed, constantly running forward at all times for better part of like 2 months while I was in the cast. I did not always do super well, but I did take first place a few times, which made me super happy.
That's
But
dedication to gaming.
that was a fun one. When I think about it now, I'm like, maybe that was a little too much, but
That's
it was cool. It was cool.
our it is earned.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It was earned. It was earned.
It was earned. Um,
So yeah. But
so you went to Xbox. So you had a bad experience with PlayStation. You
yes.
decided to go to Xbox. And we hear this a lot. A lot of people get into Xbox 360. I think that's very interesting. How so many people gravitated to Xbox 360, because we generally hear it in this time that people say, "Oh, I went to Xbox 360."
Yeah.
I think
No.
Ash had an Xbox. Ash, this is when your Xbox got stolen, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
So
jeez.
people go Xbox 360, and at this point, would you say you're an Xbot? Were you an Xbox fanboy,
Um,
or were you just like it was just the console you had?
so I would say probably at that time, maybe I was a little bit of an Xbot, just because that was the generation when Sony came out and literally told you, if you want our system, go get a second job. That was that point in time. That was the arrogant PlayStation that came out and told you, if you're poor, don't get our console, or get a second job, or and there were a lot of eccentricities to the designs that they did, right? So I was very much on the Xbox for the most part, but I did buy a PS3. I actually got it from my store manager at Game Crazy at the time. He ended up selling it to me for like $200 less than he bought it for, because it was right at that time when Sony was on the ropes and they did not have like any games coming out. Everyone was dunking on him. So he was selling it at a loss. But he's like, I just want to get rid of this thing so I can get Fight Night Round 3. And I was like, okay, cool. So I bought my PS3 and I proceeded to use it for like Metal Gear Solid 4 and a video game. One of my favorite little video games, indie game called The Last Guy. And that one's probably not very familiar either, I'm guessing.
Nope,
But
it's a Utah thing. That's the thing for all these games.
the Last Guy was literally a game. It was basically like a zombie game where you're trying to run around and collect all of the people and get the innocent bystanders away from the zombies or the monsters, and like you'd bring them to these zones to basically have them picked up and carried away by helicopter. And the main thing about it was that as you collected the characters, you continued to get longer and longer and longer stream of people with you. So it was basically like you create a giant centipede of people, a human centipede, if you will.
Oh my god.
Sorry. But yeah, so you had a bunch of people that would follow you, and if they hit your chain like early on in the chain, all those other people would disperse from your line. So then you had to go back and try and collect them. It was on a time limit. It was a fun game. It was good.
So this is what you had your PlayStation for?
It was mainly for Metal Gear Solid 4 is the reason why I even bothered to.
But for The Last Guy as well.
Yeah, well, The Last Guy was a happy incident. It was a happy accident. I didn't know. So,
yeah,
but it was good. It was good. And I was very much an Xbox at that time. That was when things were good for Xbox. Like that was right before the Xbox One, when things hit the fan for a long time. And it's finally starting to get on the upswing, but it's still a battle because they lost traction in one of the biggest generations going into a fresh generation. Like PS3 picked up traffic and the Xbox One came out and the PS4 just went flying right past them. So that's the long story made slightly shorter. Slightly.
No, I mean, I think we all have our thing. And thanks. Welcome to the chat, Rudix. You know, my fellow curly head there. And if you didn't know Rudix, Silent Cypher here is on his curly hair journey as well.
I am.
We talked about it.
You can't see it, but it's there.
But so yeah, no, I think when we talk about, there's so many things about the Xbox 360 era, and obviously then the Xbox One era, and then we're now in the Xbox Series S / Game Pass / Series X era, whichever one you know, and I think these all have like different things that come with them. But you know, if you could, like, you are on a channel, you're like in the middle of the console wars, right? We've had Dark 1985 come on the channel. We've had TK9. You know, Cowboy just likes to be at war with anybody, but you are like you're like Xbox International is an Xbox channel. Y'all, if y'all did not know this, like I went on the show and tried to just educate people on the ABK deal, and I was kicked off. I was kicked off. The chat ran me away. No, I'm joking. They were pretty friendly.
No.
Well, some people were heated. But
yeah,
came with the territory.
Sure. So it is. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Is like, yes, we're called Xbox International. By no means is it that we are only Xbox.
No, they all are actually pretty.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to most of those guys, and most of them play a bunch of Nintendo. I do occasionally on the side because I've got a Switch that my son plays here and there. Occasionally, I'll play some games. I played the new Zelda for a little bit. It wasn't for me personally, but I understand.
No, it's not for everybody.
Yeah, like I understand why it's there for people, and I think the only thing, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not. I'm going to turn the tables on you. I'm going to ask you questions.
What are you doing? Oh my gosh, here we go.
I think one of the things that bums me out about Nintendo is that they don't innovate the way that they used to. And I'm mainly just saying that in the fact that look at the IPs that they have. They haven't brought a lot of very big successful IPs or innovative IPs over the last decade ish. They found really good opportunities and they refined on them. So you look at something like Mario Kart 8. They've sold an unholy amount of that game at this point because they continued to
50.4 million.
yeah,
50.4
yeah,
million.
just a drop in the bucket. Um, but they've continued to refine on things that they know are a success, and they're being safe. I think is the best way I would say it. Is I feel like this is a safe Nintendo. This isn't a Nintendo that's taking risks necessarily, and I think that's the only thing that bums me out because you look at something like the Wii, and the Wii was a new thing. It was a new idea. It was big. It was bold. It was in your face. It was a weird thing, but it worked. And I feel like that was the last time that they were more dangerous and more daring with some of their approach.
No, I think
What do you think?
so. TK9 mentions this a lot. Another former. Well, he's still Xbox, but I think Nintendo. It depends on what you mean by innovation. Because I would say Nintendo is one of the most innovative game companies out there. I think what Nintendo does, other people follow. And so, but I also think if we look at the Wii U generation, that nearly killed Nintendo, right?
Yes.
So and I think that there's something to be said about knowing gamers. Like if you think about game companies that really know their audience, like really know the people what they want. From Software. No one will doubt. Souls games, From Software knows what they want.
Yes.
I would say, depending on what studio, ABK knows Call of Duty. They know obviously Diablo 4, King. Who even knows what mobile gamers want? But sure, right?
They're a fickle bunch.
Exactly. If we think about Rockstar, Take Two Interactive, Rockstar. They and what I would say about Nintendo is Nintendo knows their gamer.
Yes.
Right. And I think they innovate, or they're not going to get too far away from it, because when they did do that with the Wii U and they were innovative and they did something different, it moved away from who they were. And I would, and that's how I would see it.
See, I know where you're going with that, but I think realistically, I think the Wii U, because you look at the Wii U versus the Switch, and obviously the Wii U was like the 1.0 version of the Switch. The idea was there that we were going to go portable with a system where you could play this at home or you could play it on the go to an extent. But I think it was one of those things where it's like just like the Xbox One when Microsoft came out and they're like, we're gonna have games that you can share with your friends. We're gonna do all this stuff. It's all gonna be digital and blah blah blah. And people lambasted them for it. And it was simply because you look at things now and they were simply ahead of their time on that product. I think that's what the Wii U kind of was like they were almost to the Switch, but they weren't there just yet. They hadn't gotten to a full proof of concept because like the Wii U, you see the Switch, you see the genes, right? Like you see the design, but it's like it was almost like a half-baked measure to an extent. And like you said, it was a rough generation for them during that time. That one was not a good time for them. And that's when you saw a lot of the third parties bounce off, is because they saw the success of the original Wii. They went nuts over it. Everyone was releasing a Wii game at that point in time. Like Ubisoft was on that. Everyone was on that. And then it dried up really fast when the Wii U came out. But yeah, I think honestly it was kind of just ahead of its time because you see that that blueprint in the Switch, but it's like the Wii U was just too early. It's like it wasn't fully built.
Potentially. But I think getting to the heart to say to me where Nintendo is not innovative, I think like right, I play certain types of games. I play puzzle games. Nintendo has, in my opinion, as far as the bigger companies, like you have some indies who will push puzzles in that direction, but have some of the best puzzle games. Action adventure games have some of the best action adventure games. But one of the best open world concepts in Breath of the Wild, which was then try to replicate many different times. If we think about innovation in fighters, right? No one's going to question that Super Smash changed, at least took their different approach to fighters.
Yeah.
I think racing games are a little bit of a. I think there's certain games that there isn't really that much innovation. I would say racing games is one of those. If we look at fighting games, Nintendo still holds very strongly to their fighting game chains and their genres and fighting games. So I think I push back on that just because I think Nintendo to me is the number one gaming company. And that's just how I feel like others follow. Like it's very rarely, and y'all can push back to me. You can push back on this. Tell me when Nintendo was trying to make a Nintendo version of another game, meaning where someone else has a game, and then we're like, oh, that's the knockoff Nintendo version of that game.
Yeah, they tried to. Yeah, I gotcha.
But I can show you where Xbox and PlayStation have both done that for Nintendo.
Oh yeah, no, and you can see that across the industry as a whole, right? Is like generally a lot of people do follow the trends, right? You look at something like PUBG. Fortnite wouldn't even be around if they hadn't adopted the PUBG, the battle royale style type of mechanic, because the way Fortnite was when it first came out was a completely different game than what it is now. So you look at that, and there's definitely, there's little Timmy like looking over to the side to see what his classmate is, writing down on the test. There's definitely some borrowing of ideas, and I will give you that. Is like Nintendo has stayed true to their specific IPs. I think the thing that saddens me though is I don't see them taking the risks to bring out new IPs as much. Like they stay with their tried and trues, and that works. Like it makes a lot of money for them, and that's where their fan base is. But I just wish that I saw more games come out, because I feel like I've played so many Mario Karts, so many Smash Bros. Like I want to see the next thing.
So you're saying from an IP perspective, what company is bringing out new IP?
There's some different IPs that have been coming. Don't corner me on this. Don't.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious because the gaming trends right now would say new IP isn't there. There is established IP out there, right?
Sure.
And I would actually say
Hi-Fi Rush.
That's a new. So yeah, and you have gaming companies who like to buy up everything because they don't have the creativity or the innovation to actually create it themselves. Yeah. But we're not going to talk about that if you want.
If I'm being so I'll be positive. I'll be positive Nintendo Cypher for a second. I will give them credit that if they didn't take the lumps they did on the Wii U, and if they didn't refine that to then make the Switch, I probably wouldn't have an ROG Ally handheld come out, right? So like that's coming to me here in a couple weeks.
Oh, you're getting which one?
The Ally, the ROG one.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So that, realistically, how that system comes out now is obviously directly affected by something like the Switch, because the Switch is obviously something where, again, like little Timmy looking to see what the other person's writing on their test, like they've obviously seen what other people are doing, just like they looked at the Steam Deck They're like, okay, well, Steam Deck's doing this, so let's innovate with higher level power, be it processor, graphics, all that type of stuff. But I think if the Switch didn't come out, I don't know if we would have necessarily seen the handhelds that we've seen over the last year or two.
Yeah, and Rudix is throwing out some good ones. No, Rudix, I'm just saying recently, right? The last 10 years, because you could say Darksiders franchise as well.
Zero Dawn. Oh.
Well,
sorry, Rudix. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, Rudix, you're feeding this guy. He's from Xbox International, Rudix. You got to remember that.
No.
You know,
I played the games. I played the games, and the first one was good. The second one was not for me. It was boring. But again, it's not for me specifically. I look at something like The Last of Us, and I had a blast with that game when I played it. God of War, again, I preferred the old God of Wars. Now it feels like I'm playing the Clint Eastwood version of God of War, where it's a lot of angry dad simulator. It's the sad dad sim. I feel like any moment I'm going to hear Kratos be like, "Hey, you kids, get off my lawn." Like that's how I feel. It's got that energy to it, is how it feels. Like there's just a lot of that.
The angry dad simulator.
Yes, it's an angry dad simulator.
I never heard of Kratos described it. What's going on, SPG? How are you? Thank you. Hopefully you're getting better, SPG. You know we're pulling for you. We're just talking to Cypher here.
God of parenting more than God of War. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You know, but I mean, it makes a good point. You're saying you want new IP. I guess when I look at Nintendo, I look at gameplay mechanics, and I look at potentially we wouldn't have potentially Steam would not have a Steam Deck if it was not for Nintendo bringing together this idea of handheld and console to the same forefront. So I hear that. I think all the companies do something different. Personally, when I look at innovation, I always look at indies. That's why I am still, like I said, look at Little Nightmares. You didn't even mention it. I asked you the question and it was staring right in front of you. Franchises.
Oh. My bad.
But no, I think, yeah, and shout out to Tarsier Studios, makers of Little Nightmares. But yeah, I think in that regard, Nintendo has their thing. Like, I always consider the company I relate Nintendo most to is Disney. And, if you think about Nintendo, what they're doing is they have theme parks. They literally have theme parks. They have a $1 billion movie. Like they have their thing, and eventually will they create something new, a new IP, potentially, who's counting Splatoon or anything like that?
Not many people.
But Splatoon is their shooter? Is it?
It is, and to be fair, like you said, people like to rip off other people and make knockoffs. Square Enix, I'm looking at you with Foam Stars.
Oh,
what in the world? Like that is such a blatant ripoff of Splatoon. I can't even.
Maybe they're daring them. Maybe they're daring them to sue them. Nintendo will do it too. Yeah, Nintendo will do it.
They will do a DMCA takedown on your Dolphin emulation ASAP. They are not afraid to do some lawsuits. And when I saw that, all I could think is someone's getting sued.
No,
because that was messy.
We'll see. Square is having a good time. And I just was notified that Street Fighter 6 has just successfully launched. So you all in APAC. It is coming. It is coming by the hour. A new market is coming on the line. So super awesome stuff there. And I see you there, Hollow Knight Silk Song. I see, what is it, Deep Cherry or Dark? I forget the studio for that, but they showed that at E3 2019, I believe, as well. No, well, so Silent, like I said, I'm not a Nintendo. I'm a Zelda fan, not necessarily. Okay. I'm a Pikmin Zelda. Pikmin and Zelda. That's
Pikmin.
Okay.
Okay.
Pikmin. I'm a Pikmin Zelda fan, so
That
obviously
is
I'm
something we
super
haven't seen for a while.
Pikmin. Pikmin
yeah.
4 coming out in July 16th. Super awesome.
I guess that tells you how much I've been paying
No,
attention.
don't worry.
I'm
I was
sorry. I'm
waiting in
sorry.
line when I was waiting in line. So I actually waited in line for the Zelda release at the Nintendo store in New York.
Really?
And like, yeah, and that's where I got all the swag for the Tears of the Kingdom. And Nintendo fans are a little different. I'll say that. It is
Yeah.
earned. It is
Yeah.
earned. And
Yes.
and so they were talking about all the new games that are coming out across, whether it's Switch, they're talking about the new system, rumor mill. And then I was like, yeah, we get Pikmin. The looks I got when I said that, the looks I got from my fellow Nintendo people about Pikmin, I
They
was
just
like,
sat there. They're
okay,
like,
this is
who's
why
this
this,
person?
yes, exactly. I was like, okay, well, I will take my Pikmin and go somewhere else.
I'll tell you something that I do have fond memories of on a Nintendo system. Just to, again, bring it back a little bit with a positive, since I kind of crapped on the Wii U and IPs and stuff. But I really, really wish that we would see another Boy and His Blob game, because they did make another one of those a few years back. But it's been a minute. Did you ever
Well,
play A Boy and His Blob?
these are all these. I blame it on
Utah
Utah.
games. A Boy and
Oh
His
boy.
Blob was amazing. It was literally a kid walking around with a pocket full of jelly beans, and he
Oh,
would
like
throw the
Mike and
jelly.
Ike's.
Yeah, he would throw. Dang it!
I see a trend. I see why this.
There's a trend. Yes. Again, I connect right back to those childish memories. But yeah, he would throw them at the blob, and depending on the color of the jelly bean, it would turn into different things. It would turn into a hole, it would turn into a ladder, it would turn into an umbrella, whatever. And it was kind of a fun thing. You talk about puzzle games, and that one was one that had a decent learning curve to it, because it wasn't super obvious all the time as to what you needed to turn it into, when you needed to do those things. It's a good one. You should try it.
Well, like I said, I love puzzles. I love good storylines. I love good music compositions.
Mhm.
And I love also a good co-op game. So that's my type of gaming. So like I said, obviously Nintendo being not big on co-ops, right? So
Yeah.
but I play everything. I've
You have
except
co-op
PlayStation
on
because it's ugly.
When you say that, you make me sound like I'm very artificial about my PS3 or my
No,
PS5 concerns.
I don't like chat
You
knows
don't like
I
it
don't
either.
like
So that's
I don't
I,
like PS5 because it's ugly.
I
Like
think I
I
remembered you saying that in the past, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. So
no, it's not just you.
it's
It's a lot of us. There's a whole contingent of us.
it's ugly.
Um,
I feel like every time I see it, I'm going to see a glowing eye happen, and I'm going to see Frodo and Gandalf and all those guys go roaming around in the woods right next to it. Like, I don't know. I just don't like it.
I don't like Rudix can, but I remember when Rudix got his very judgy. Roaster, I'm not judging. How this is Ambi says stuff like this to me all the time. I am not.
Holtz says that it's the little ugly duckling of the consoles. I wouldn't say there's any world where you could call it the little ugly duckling.
Yeah, you can call it the ugly duckling, but here's the thing, Holtz. Here's the thing about it. At least the ugly duckling became pretty. That PS5 is always going to remain ugly until it gets like its siblings on board. Like that.
You see the arm of that workout equipment back there? The PS5 is longer than that.
It is. It's Matt. But that's Rudix. That's his thing. When it comes to console, I have had to console my cons. I see what you did there. Oh my God. What's up, Web Dave? We're just talking about how ugly the PS5 is, talking about Nintendo and the lack of innovation. That was Silent Cypher, not me. Talking about having cheese in your pocket, going all the way back to Game Crazy and Hollywood Video. What else have we talked about? Utah Gaming.
Utah Gaming, yes. Yeah.
The success of the Xbox 360 and some people, it's positive. It's positive show. So we are thinking positive because Xbox is on its way up, and some
we'll see. We'll see.
No,
I'll keep it honest with you. I'll keep it 100 with you. Is like I have no problem. Again, we have Xbox International as our podcast, but by no means am I going to sit there and tolerate a BS showcase. Like if I see it and I'm not impressed, I'm going to speak on it. Why do I care if someone doesn't appreciate my feedback on that? Like it's me making the purchases of the games, right? So if I don't like the game, I'm not going to buy it. I'll make my opinion on it. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's fine. There's plenty of games that other people like that I don't like. And that's fine because not every game is made for me.
Not every game is made for. I say that. Y'all saw me when I was playing. Zelda is not for everybody. It's not. Yeah. Not every game is made for everybody. And just like not every movie is made for everybody. I don't understand why we don't see the two similar. To me, if we can't say like every movie is made for everybody, like if we can say that, then why can't we say that about games? But for some reason, gamers are like, that game should be for me and I don't like it. So I don't know. It's weird. It is earned. It is earned, as we say. And so
I feel like that's got to be your a new motto for you. I see that on a shirt, a picture of your name on it, and it just says like right underneath this behavior ... it is earned.
This is actually good news for the channel in Silent Cypher. You heard it here first. I have actually trademarked the proof is in the plane.
Nice.
Yeah, I got that trademark. So that's one of the lawyers I've been talking to. But he was a nice one. So the proof is in the plane is officially trademarked by me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that.
You heard it here, chat. You just got a red hot exclusive.
Yeah, so we'll see.
That's cool.
And so the way it works, though, and I have it actually two trademarks. So trademarks work when you have to get it trademarked for a product. So I have it trademarked for apparel. And then Mama Hayes gave me the idea to trademark it for, this is one category, sports equipment and toys. And we're not talking about your KB toy store type of toys. So take it where you will.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Wow.
So both of you seen those.
to steal a motto or a slogan from someone else, there's layers to this.
There's layers.
I'm sure if Doc were with us right now, he'd be like, "Oh, there's a lot of."
I'm just saying the proof is in the plane. If Ash, Candy, y'all know what I'm talking about. What?
This is interesting. See, I wasn't gonna call you out earlier, but when you said that you were talking to lawyers, I was like, "Oh no, like Purple Haze is on the run." I was like, man, I was thinking the worst. I was thinking dark things. And then you brought it to like a sweet place with your slogan. And then you brought me right back to the gutter with adult toys.
I did not say it. I just presented. I just said toys. Okay. I just said toys.
Okay. That's just me. It's just me. I took it somewhere else. I just said
toys.
Sure.
Toys. But it's true. So I'm excited. I am
athletic. So hold on, athletic. Are we talking like water bottles? Are we talking like soccer balls? Are
Mm,
we talking
So
like
sports equipment. So it's like sports equipment. I believe water bottles would probably fit into a different category.
okay?
So there's like 35 categories that you have to put your trademark to. So and each of them have a different fee associated with them.
So is it asking for too much information at this point if I ask like what type of sports equipment do you have in mind of like putting that on?
I just did it just so I have this Ambi knows this because we talked about it. I have like a kind of a vision that one day, like some sports person is going to win the Super Bowl and say, and the proof is in the plane. And then all these people like Nike are going to be
Oh,
like, we want to put
oh,
this on everything. And then
yeah.
I can be like, oh, well, time out. 10 to 15% of your revenue needs to go to me. Thank
You
you
get
very
your
much.
fat stacks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's kind of like
Okay.
that.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair. That's fair. I like that it's the it's the preparation, right?
yeah.
It's being prepared for those occurrences. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. So I figured that those two, but in the categories, random stuff. It could be like rubber, and this is for anybody who has their own
No,
stuff.
that's only for the adult toys.
I actually, this is what I was talking to the lawyer about. Was
He's
it
like
should we
like
do
I don't
it for rubber too?
he's
That
like
was
I don't know if we can put that on rubber. It might like smear off. That might not be good.
it was the funniest conversation to me because he was very serious about the whole thing, and I am just like, so what you're telling me is. Because he's like, well, it depends on what the category is. And I was like, well,
I'd
and then
imagine that's got to be such an awkward conversation for that guy. Like the first time he ever has to have that conversation, he comes up to someone and he's like, "Well, you could put it on like latex goods." And the person's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, you know, like latex goods." And they're like, "But could you explain more?" And he's like, "Man, this is awkward. Why
no,
am I
well,
doing
this
this?"
is how. So he's like, well, because he's a lawyer, so he has to try to like give me his advice. And so he's like,
Yeah.
what is the use case? And so, so, I, so I'm
Oh,
like, well, and so how?
recreational.
And so I think he was trying. We were trying to both make each other uncomfortable there for a second. Cause then he's like, well, tell me how
Have
you
to.
would use it. And I was like, well, I think it's only limited by your imagination. So you can imagine. So he was like this going back and forth to try to. So that's where he said, okay, I think we can do toys and that is legal ground because the rubber traditionally gets
Mm.
trademark for rubber. So this is what
That's
happened.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I like how it inevitably like even though it wasn't intentional, it just accidentally goes awkward and then it's like, well, I'm gonna double down. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna double down.
Yeah,
He's like,
it went
why
like
not?
that.
We're already here.
Yeah,
So that was
Abraham, if you're
amazing.
out there, Abraham's his name. Great dude. But yes,
Shout
so
out to Abraham.
yeah, the proof is in the plane is officially trademarked. So, but Science Cypher, I think we went long. Thank you so much for telling your story. We're gonna have to do this again. We're
Oh,
gonna have to do this
absolutely.
again. We're gonna have to do this again. But tell everybody what you're up to. You know, I've linked your channels below. Tell them where they can find you. Tell them what your plans. Floor is yours.
So, sorry if you heard kids screaming in the background just now. I promise it's nothing sinister. My kids are being tickle attacked by my wife, I think. I swear, everything's fine. I don't have to meet up with lawyers or anything. We're
As we see the Mike Myers mask behind you.
good. So in regards to where you can find me, obviously you can find me all over social media. I'm on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok a lot, mainly TikTok and Twitter. Been trying to do some more content on TikTok. That's been kind of a fun place to play. I don't know why it appealed to me, but it just kind of jumped out, and I decided I'd give it a shot. You can find me on Xbox, you can find me on PlayStation, you can find me all over the place as Silent Cypher mainly. I try and keep it pretty simple. It's usually Silent Cypher with a space or without a space. There's no numbers, nothing confusing about it. It's pretty simple. But besides those places, you can obviously find me on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Xbox International podcast. Again, like we talked about earlier, yes, we're labeled as XBI podcast, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't talk about other stuff. We talk
It's a
about
gaming channel. It's a
all,
gaming channel.
yeah. Probably could have just called it like Gaming International, but I wasn't. I don't know. Xbox International sounded good at the time, and I wish I had a picture that I could show you right now because it was terrible. But the name actually came up when I was playing around with some Photoshop, and the very first thing that I pitched to the guys to come up with the name was actually a picture of it. There was that new Men in Black movie, right? With Chris Hemsworth and everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I photoshopped our heads right onto their bodies. And so I've got like a disembodied Crazy Louie head just floating as like an alien behind us. And I literally we talked about stealing other people's ideas, and I literally just stole MIBs and just slapped our stuff on it. It was like, we should be Xbox International. And history was made. But yeah, so like I said, we talk about gaming, we hang out, we have fun, we pester each other, we pick on Louis, we pick on Sour sometimes when
Sour. I was like, y'all pick on Sour too.
we had to pick on Sour this week because the Celtics had a bad
I mean, he came in and he wore his Celtics stuff, and it was like
he was giddy. He was like a kid in a candy shop, and I smacked his piggy bank right out of his hands. So
we have Simpleton, who's also on this channel. He comes by sometimes. He's a big Boston fan as well. So have not seen him around. All I tell people is congratulations on making it to Game 7. That's
more than I know. I just usually am like, sports. I'm excited for you. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. Like I said, we do that on Wednesdays. You'll catch me in a few other places coming up here soon. I've got a few things coming that I don't have fully locked in just yet. But one thing that I did want to pitch out is for you yourself or for anyone else watching, if they decide to check it out, well, you are more than welcome. Feel free to let us know if you want to. But next week, we're actually doing our E3 prediction show. And we're letting people call in. So like if someone wants to come in, throw their piece out there, they want to say like, this is what my prediction is, you're more than welcome. Just let us know if you're interested.
Summer Game Fest predictions.
Xbox Showcase, but I think we'll probably talk about the Summer Showcase prediction stuff too.
Okay.
I think basically just like I probably almost said E3, or I probably did say E3 Showcase.
Yeah. It's habit.
I'm gonna do it for the rest of time. But yeah, so if anyone's interested, obviously feel free to come over, give us your ideas, your take. And yeah, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting in gaming.
It's always interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you so much for letting me come on here and literally just spew a bunch of movie and game knowledge and useless information at you for an hour and 45.
Oh no,
I appreciate
it. Thank you so much for doing this. We've been trying to plan this for a little while.
Sure.
And so definitely appreciate you coming on. Thanks for being, good sport about everything. Of course, I try to make Wednesdays, y'all. If you want to catch me on Wednesdays, I am on Xbox International's channel. Thank you to Cammie for really connecting me to that channel as well. Cammie's in chat, y'all. Cammie's a little connector here.
Shout out to Cammie. It's always good to see both of you in the chat. Anytime I see familiar faces, like it's cool to see new people, obviously, but it's cool to see a lot of the people in the community that I've grown to know for the last year and a half, 2 years. It's been awesome.
It's great, and thanks for having me on the show when y'all did. But yeah, I'll definitely. All I want to do is see Contraband. My bar is really low. I just want to see what's coming from Contraband. That's it.
man, I hope for your sake and for a lot of people out there. Like I want to see it too. I just don't know if we're going to see it yet.
I think I think they're going to say I think I like I said to me I'm not a big showcase person. I'm more of a gameplay person. Like I think showcases traditionally, like if we think about hype, traditionally we're let down
Yeah.
by and so I that's just me personally. So um I just want to see funny jokes, and you know how showcases are. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. But with that, y'all know I will try to be back Sunday. I've been kind of going out of town or just going upstate during the weekend to try to finish some stuff. So I'll try to be back next week. We have another amazing person. If y'all know anything, Diablo, a little side hint, Diablo is really important to her. But this week is Silent Cypher's week. So thank you again, Silent Cypher, so much for coming by. And for chat, thank you all so much. And it's about that time where I say, I don't care where you game, how you game, why you game, when you game, how long you've been gaming, what you game on. As long as you game, you're good with me. And as always, the proof is in the playing. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. And yes, that's trademark now. All right. See you later.
See ya.